They didn't even ask, not really, just like every year. My mom casually dropped it over the phone while I was eating lunch between back-to-back meetings. Your father and I were thinking of doing something special for the big 30. Maybe the beach? But only if it's not too much trouble. That was code for plan it, Camille, and I did. Like I always do, I've always been the reliable one, the fixer, the scheduler. The daughter who shows up early and stays late. I was the kid who remembered every birthday. The one who made Thanksgiving tables sparkle when I was 13. The one who calmed my dad down when the dishwasher broke and made my mom's doctor appointments when she forgot. Tiffany? Tiffany once tried to book a rental car and somehow ended up buying a blender, but she was cute and giggly. And everyone loved her because she's just so much fun. I started planning the trip 6 weeks ago. It wasn't just any vacation. It was their dream vacation, a beachside suite at Sandstone Bay. The resort my mom pinned on Pinterest for years but never booked. I found the last available suite. Ocean view, balcony, free champagne on arrival. I coordinated the flights to align with sunset. Check-in even ordered custom embroidered towels that said 30 years of us. One in seafoam green. One in navy, just make it perfect, my mom texted like you always do. I should have known something was off when she said, you don't have to come with us, you know. But I smiled through it. I want to, I replied, and I imagined reading on the balcony while Dad played cards, Mom walking barefoot on the beach, wine in hand. The three of us, together, not just as parent and child, but as adults finally understanding each other one night. While finalizing the dinner reservations and confirming the suite upgrades, I paused. My laptop screen glowed with tabs full of beachside brunch spots and sunset catamaran tours. My calendar had reminders: confirm snorkeling, time order, fruit basket, email, resort dietary restrictions, and suddenly it hit me. Had done all of this without them even asking twice, because that's what I do. That's what I've always done, and yet no thank you card. No flowers, no. Hey Camille, how are you doing lately? Just expectations, stacked like suitcases I wasn't allowed to unpack for myself, but still, I didn't mind, not really, because this was love, wasn't it? Love was being the glue, the backbone, the calm in the family storm. I told myself that. Anyway, I didn't know in that moment that it would be the last trip I'd ever plan for them. I didn't know that while I was printing itineraries and checking weather forecasts. They were already talking to Tiffany, already replacing me, but that part comes later. Right now, I'm just Camille, the daughter who fixes things, the one they trust, the one they expect to make it perfect. I didn't till the text came. It came on a Thursday. I was walking back from the grocery store, earbuds in, tote bag balanced on one hip, half listening to a podcast about emotional labor. The irony now feels cinematic. My phone buzzed. A group text from Mom and Dad. Hey honey, small change of plans. Tiffany's taking your spot on the trip. Thanks for organizing everything. That was it. No explanation, no warning. Not even a Callie stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. The tote slipped. Apples rolled onto the pavement. I just stood there, phone in hand, rereading that text over and over. Tiffany's taking your spot. My heart didn't break so much as it curled inward. Like a letter left too close to flame. I called my mom immediately. She picked up on the third ring, chipper like nothing was wrong. Hey, sweetie, everything okay? You're giving my spot to Tiffany? A pause. Then that dismissive little sigh I'd known since childhood. Don't start this, Camille. You're always so dramatic. I felt my face flush, hot and numb at the same time. I planned this for you. I booked everything. I coordinated. Yes, and you did an amazing job. But Tiffany hasn't had a vacation in ages. She's been so stressed with whatever it is she's doing. You're busy with work. You probably wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway. My hands were shaking, so you just gave her my place, without even telling me. You're making this about you again. And there it was. The knife beneath the smile. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Not that I had much left to lose. I sat in my car for what felt like an hour. Door open, keys in hand, the bag of groceries untouched in the passenger seat. I cried, not the loud, ugly cry, the quiet kind. The kind that builds in your chest like steam behind a locked door. The kind you don't even wipe away because what's the point? They didn't just cancel my trip, they erased me from my own effort and handed it like a gift to the golden girl Tiffany with her carefree smile and vague influencer career. She couldn't plan her way out of a parking ticket, but she got the balcony, the champagne, the embroidered towels I picked out. She got my seat, my view, my place that night. I tried calling my dad, he didn't pick up. He sent a text an hour later. Your mom told me you're upset. It's not a big deal. Let it go. That one hurt more than the first because if he wouldn't stand up for Methan, no one would. This wasn't about a vacation anymore. This was about being invisible, about being the scaffolding everyone builds there. Lives on until they no longer need. I thought I was the daughter they depended on, but maybe I was just convenient. And now that Tiffany was easier, prettier, more fun, they chose. Harry sat on my living room floor in the dark that night. Laptop open to the resort's homepage. The photos hurt more than they should have, not because I wouldn't be there, but because I'd made it beautiful for them. And they didn't even see me in it by morning. I wasn't sad anymore. I was empty, a kind of clean silence that comes after the storm. Not peaceful, but sharp. I wasn't going to fight them for space. They were never willing to. Sure, I'd find space elsewhere, but first I had to let go of the version of them I still hoped existed, the version that loved me best. I told myself not to go back, told myself it wasn't worth the pain or the humiliation, but some part of me, I don't know. I think I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. The absence, the proof they were already gone. Off to Sandstone Bay. Tiffany posted a boomerang of the champagne flutes on the resort balcony. Caption: surprising the parents with a Lil Beach escape, #family first, #coastal queen, surprising them. As if she'd done anything but show up and take the credit. I stared at the post, heart pounding in that sick, slow way grief creeps, and she hadn't just taken my spot. She'd rewritten the ID. Drove to my parents' house 2 days later, no one home. Just the echo of a lawnmower down the block and the smell of fresh cut grass clinging to the air. The key still worked. I stepped inside, half dreading, half hoping. Maybe, I thought maybe they left my room untouched. Maybe I still exist there, but when I opened the door to the room at the end of the hall, my door, I stopped breathing. Gone were the string lights I'd hung in college. Gone was the bookshelf my dad and I built the summer I turned 15. Their place a lavender bedspread, white throw pillows, a gold-framed mirror where my bulletin board used to be. My walls, but not my life. A canvas print above the bed read, "Make it cute, make it count." Tiffany's words. I'd heard her say them a dozen times on her stories. I turned around and opened the closet inside, where my childhood things shoved into 2 plastic bins. Lids half snappedy, pulled one down inside a 5th grade spelling bee medal, my class valedictorian. Sasha faded hoodie from freshman year, a birthday card from grandma before she passed. The last one she ever wrote, all crammed in like junk, like a clearance rack of who I used to be, sat on the floor, one hand in the bin, the other pressed to my mouth, trying not to scream. My mom came home a little later. Early flight mix-up. She didn't expect to find me there. She set down her purse, caught sight of me in the hallway, and blinked. "Oh, you're here." Not, "Hey, Camille, not, we missed you, just..." That I followed her into the kitchen, still silent. "We thought you'd moved on," she said casually, pulling sparkling water from the fridge. "You haven't been around much. You gave Tiffany my room." She rolled her eyes and took a sip. "It's just a guest room now. And she comes over more than you do." I didn't speak. "Besides," she added with a small shrug, "Tiffany's more fun to be around these days. She doesn't make everything so heavy." And there it was, the blade behind the smile again. It wasn't that they preferred her, it was that they preferred not having to deal with my thoughts, my boundaries, my feelings. All too much work. Tiffany was easy, a curated breeze in a bottle, in me. Too complicated. Too aware, too. Really didn't argue, didn't crit, didn't beg for them to remember the girl who stayed up all night editing her dad's retirement speech or drove her mom to every appointment after her surgery. I just walked out, got in my car, turned the key, and then I broke. I parked 2 blocks down, put my forehead to the steering wheel and sobbed, the kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep, from the places you didn't even know had cracks, not because they gave Tiffany a room, not even because they gave her mine, but because they didn't think it would hurt me, because it never even occurred to them to cry. Wiped my face, eventually looked at myself in the rearview mirror, eyes red. Mascara smeared but something else there. 2A steadiness A stillness I whispered it out loud, just to hear it said, they don't see me, so I'll stop trying to be seen. That night I started apartment hunting, new city, new job, new rules. If they were going to write me out, I'd give them a silence they couldn't ignore. They thought I was sulking. That I'd go quiet for a few weeks, lick my wounds, and eventually crawl back like always, ready to be helpful, responsible, invisible again. But I wasn't sulking, I was shedding and rebuilding 2 weeks after I walked out of my parents' house. I signed a lease in the city, not a huge place, 1 bedroom, 3rd floor, no elevator, but it was mine, every nail in the wall, every dish on the shelf, every space untouched by anyone else's expectations. I moved in with 2 suitcases and 3 boxes of books and left the rest, memories, medals, the idea that I owed anyone my presence. Behind the city made no promises, but it gave me something I hadn't had in years, space to be nobody, and in that space, I began building someone new. The first thing I did was clear my contacts, family chat, muted notifications from mom's wine club group, gone Tiffany's social media, blocked, not out of malice, just peace. They raised me to be loyal, steady, useful, and when that no longer served them, they replaced me without hesitation. So I stopped offering myself up. They didn't realize it yet, but their foundation had cracked because I was the one who held their stories together. And now I was writing my own. I took a job at a boutique PR firm downtown, part marketing, part creative consulting, long hours, demanding clients, chaotic deadlines, and I loved it for once. I wasn't the fixer for people who took me for granted. I was the expert, the voice, the one who chose who got my time. And on Friday nights, I drank cheap wine from stemless glasses in my living room, soft jazz playing from a Bluetooth speaker, windows open to the hum of the city. No Tiffany, no expectations, just me somewhere. In all of this, I started journaling again, not the teenage kind, full of crushed hearts and moody playlists, but the kind that tells the truth. No one wants to hear one page, simply read. They taught me I was disposable. I'm teaching myself I'm rare. That line stuck with me, whispered it like a mantra when the old ache crept in, when I saw a family at brunch, and felt the sting when I opened a drawer and found the 30 years of us towel still folded inside. I kept one. Just one, a reminder that I once gave them something beautiful and they gave it away. A few months passed then. One day, while scrolling through event listings for a client, I froze there. It was annual Hearts and Hands Gala, the charity benefit I used to help coordinate for the local children's hospital. Lit had been my thing for years, something I pitched, built, and helped grow from a sleepy fundraiser into a glamorous annual night. And now, a photo of Tiffany, smiling in a powder blue dress, appeared on the site's homepage. Tiffany Hayes to represent the Thompson family as host committee co-chair. My family, my event, her face. She hadn't just taken my room, she had taken my legacy. But this time, I didn't rage. I smiled because ghosts don't scream. They linger, and I was going to linger everywhere they looked. A week later, I reconnected with Laura, an old friend from college who now ran her own event design company. We met for coffee in a rooftop cafe where the air smelled like lilac, syrup, and possibility. You were always the strategic one, she said, stirring oat milk into her espresso. I still use your pitch decks as templates. We laughed then. We started talking about collaboration, about business, about power. By the end of the month, I'd landed a freelance contract managing 3 high-profile events, not charity dinners, not family favors, real work, real money, real control. The wardrobe followed. Gone were the cozy cardigans and sensible flats. Now I wore sharp lines, structured fabric, slate gray trousers, satin blouses with collars that stood on their own heels that clicked like punctuation marks in marble hallways. I didn't dress to be approachable anymore. I dressed to be remembered. One night, after a particularly flawless rooftop gala, I stepped onto my balcony, barefoot, holding a glass of lemon water. The city buzzing below. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Miss you, Mom. Hope you're doing okay. We should talk soon. I stared at it, let it sit there on the screen like a leaf floating in a pool, and then I turned the screen off because ghosts don't respond to the living. They simply remind them of what they lost. The gala was a week away when Tiffany posted the Real, she was trying on dresses in some boutique. I used to love twisting in front of the mirror, tagging designers I knew she'd never heard of 6 months ago. The caption read, "Can't wait to host the Hearts and Hands Gala, so honored to represent the Thompson fam." Represent the Thompson family like, she was born to it like, she built the damn thing that night. I pulled up the event guest list from my industry contact. Sure enough, Tiffany was listed as a host committee co-chair. Me name wasn't on the list, not even as a guest, but Laura, my college friend turned collaborator, raised an eyebrow when I mentioned it over cocktails. "You're not going as Camille the cousin," she said, already texting someone. "You're going as Camille the consultant. The woman who designed half their sponsorship strategy 4 years in a row." I didn't even have to ask by the next morning. My name was there, near the top. Camille Thompson, VIP guest. Partner liaison, one tier above Tiffany, the night of the gala. I didn't tremble it and rehearse my lines in the mirror. I just stepped out of the car, heels clicking like punctuation on pavement. Next to me was Laura, in a sharp tuxedo jumpsuit and red lipstick. Her arm looped casually through mine. We didn't need to say it out loud. We weren't here for a fight. We were here to remind the room who lit the match. The venue glittered with fairy lights and polished people. Crystal glasses clinked, jazz murmured, and money moved in whispers and glances as we walked through the lobby. I felt it, the shift. The attention eyes flicked toward me, scanning, remembering gasps behind fans, half-hidden smiles. Is that Camille Thompson? I thought. She moved to Chicago. God, she looks incredible. My mother spotted me first. She was standing near the bar in a champagne-colored wrap dress, half laughing with an executive she probably didn't remember 5 years ago. Her smile froze just for a beat, then she smoothed her expression like linen napkins. "Camille, sweetheart, we missed you." I took a sip from the champagne flute handed to me by a server and smiled back. Cool, polite, untouchable. I noticed her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't know what to say next, and I didn't give her the space to figure it out. Tiffany came swirling in moments later, dramatic as ever, in a glittery gown that looked like it was trying too hard to be expensive. Her eyes locked on mesh, stumbled slightly, like she wasn't sure if she was hallucinating or just horribly unprepared. "Camille?" She blinked. "Oh my God, hi." Smiled like she was an old co-worker I barely remembered. "Tiffany, you look dockly." Her date, some finance bro in velvet loafers, stepped in to introduce himself, offering his hand. "Camille, right? She's told me all about you." I shook his hand. "That's strange. She never told me about you." We made our way into the ballroom. I could feel the glances, 1,000 tiny arrows trying to pin me down, but I didn't shrink. I took my seat at the head VIP table, directly across from the event chair. Laughed with Laura, made polite conversation with sponsors every once in a while. I caught my mother watching my father too, hands in his lap, unsure if he should come over or pretend he hadn't seen me. Didn't give them an answer. I let them sit in the discomfort because I wasn't angry, not anymore. This wasn't revenge. It was a return. He'd built this room once, and now I was simply reminding them how empty it felt without me in it. Later, during the silent auction, Tiffany attempted one last olive branch. She drifted over, clutching her clutch like a shield. "I didn't know you were coming," she said. I tilted my head. "That's the point." Her mouth twitched into a faux smile, but the color had drained a little. "I thought you didn't care about this stuff anymore." I leaned in slightly. "I care deeply, just not about the people who erased me from it." We didn't speak again that night, but I saw her watching me, saw her noticing the difference. I wasn't the helper anymore. I wasn't the backup. I was the woman who made an entrance scene, left a silence louder than applause as Laura and I walked toward the car. At the end of the evening, she nudged me. "Feel good?" I nodded. They gave her my name, my room, my place. Pause, but they forgot. Ghosts don't leave, they wait. And tonight, they saw me not as the daughter they could rely on, but as the storm they couldn't predict. It started with a whisper, tagged comment, blurry photo on a gossip account that circled through my inbox with the subject line, "This you?" Tiffany, mascara smudged, screaming in a parking lot. Her boyfriend, ex, apparently, was walking away, hands up, looking embarrassed. Then came the Reddit thread, the internship she bragged about. Fake the foundation event she took credit for? Mismanaged and quietly pulled. From the calendar, the sparkle was unraveling 2 days later. My phone lit up with an unknown number. I didn't answer. It went to voicemail, my mother's voice shaky. Tearful, Camille. Honey, she's not doing well. Everything's falling apart and we don't know what to do. Pause. A sniffle. You've always been the calm one. You know how to handle things? Can you just talk to her? Please. She sounded like someone who remembered she once had a daughter who held the house together with paper clips and Grace. I didn't call back, not out of cruelty, but because I'd already done that chapter, the part where I put myself last to make everyone else feel better instead. I poured a cup of tea, sat by my window as the city lights hummed against the glass, and I listened to her message one more time. It didn't feel like guilt, it didn't even sting, it felt like confirmation that when the glitter wore off, they came looking for glue. And not glue anymore, glass. The next morning, I opened my florist app, typed in an address I hadn't used in a long time. My parents' house selected a bouquet. Elegant white calla layla and soft sage roses. Classy, understated, no. Note, no name, just the gesture. I wanted them to know I heard them, but I wasn't coming back. They'd chosen Tiffany. When it was easy, when she was charming and photogenic and said all the right things for Instagram, but when the cameras faded and the applause stopped. They needed a cleanup crew, and remembered me. They remembered the daughter who could fix anything, spin gold from chaos, smooth the edges of their shame. But I wasn't theirs to summon anymore. Laura asked me later that week if I'd heard from them. We were walking back from brunch, her sunglasses pushed up. The city warm and golden. Tiffany's having a full PR meltdown, she said, checking her phone. Do you care? I thought for a second, shrugged. I care that they expected me to care. That was the truth. It wasn't about Tiffany. It wasn't even about the scandal. It was about the way they never saw my worth. Until theirs was in jeopardy, they didn't want me. They wanted what I could do for them. But I'm not in the business of being useful anymore. I'm in the business of being whole. That weekend, I curled up on my couch with a book and a blanket. The city moved beyond the window like a story I didn't have to be part of. My phone buzzed once. A second voicemail from my mother. I guess you're busy. We understand. Just don't forget us. I didn't reply, not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I remembered something they forgot, who showed up for me and who didn't. That silence. It wasn't punishment, it was peace. I used to think I wanted revenge, not in the dramatic, scorched earth kind of way, just recognition, a moment where they looked at me and finally saw it. What they lost, what they gave away too easily. But time has a funny way of turning rage into quiet clarity. And now I know I never wanted to punish them. I just wanted room to breathe. It started with a message from a young woman on LinkedIn. She was 18, freshly out of high school, trying to break into the world of creative marketing. Nervous, scrappy, smart, she wrote. You don't know me, but I watched your panel last month. You talked about creating a seat at your own table. That stayed with me. I wrote back, met her for coffee the following week at a little corner cafe near my apartment. Mismatched mugs, soft music, dusty books on the windowsills. She talked fast, but her eyes were hungry, not for approval, but for direction. My mom says I should be more realistic, she said, fidgeting with her spoon, but I want to build something. I just don't want to do it alone. I smiled, sipped my tea. You're not alone. You're just early. That conversation turned into another, then a series, and slowly, without even meaning to, I became a mentor, not just to her, but to a handful of girls from different boroughs and different walks of life, all tired of being told they had to be small to be safe. We met on weekends, talked shop, talked boundaries, talked about what it meant to be seen on your own terms. One of them said, mid-discussion, sometimes the best revenge is living like they never broke you. I stared at her, stunned for a second, then I wrote it down. I started journaling again, more often now, not out of grief, but reflection, not because I was unraveling, but because I was anchoring. One entry, scrawled after a long night of back-to-back calls and budgeting sessions, simply said, I'm not their ghost, I'm my own legacy. There was a power in that realization, not dramatic, not cinematic, just real, because for so long, I thought my value came from what I gave to others, how well I performed, how quietly I sacrificed. But now I wake up in a space I built myself, drink coffee from a mug I bought without compromise, laugh with friends who never once asked me to shrink, and that is freedom sometimes. I still get texts from home. Tiffany tried to follow me again on Instagram. My mom sent me a birthday card, signed with love, but light on words. My dad forwarded me a YouTube video he thought was inspiring. I don't ignore them, but I don't race to respond. Either I treat them like distant relatives from a place I once lived, warm but far away. Don't need them to apologize anymore because what they took, my space, my voice, my room, I've already reclaimed, and what they lost, that's theirs to live with. One evening after mentoring, I walked through the city, golden hour sun casting soft shadows between buildings. I passed a family sitting at a sidewalk cafe, a mother, father, daughter. Maybe my age. They were laughing over something small, the kind of laughter that wasn't performative. Just safe. For a moment I felt it, a pang, not jealousy, not bitterness, just a quiet wondering of what could have been. And then I breath kept walking because what I have now, it isn't what I was given, it's what I built. The night air buzzed with music and laughter. It was a rooftop event, not a gala, not a fundraiser, just something Laura had put together for her company's 10-year anniversary. Intimate, elegant, effortless. String lights danced between tall building. Servers passed around champagne flutes and savory tartlets. The DJ spun soft house tracks that made the skyline feel like a friend instead of a shadow. I stood at the edge of the rooftop, drink in hand, watching the city hum beneath me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. I didn't know they'd be there. I hadn't even thought about it. Really, Laura invited people from every corner of her life, clients, collaborators, old acquaintances, and apparently, somewhere down the line, my parents had become guests. They arrived quietly, no grand entrance, no spotlight. I spotted them across the space, my mother in a blue silk blouse, my father holding a glass of red wine like he wasn't sure if he deserved it. They didn't see me at first, and I didn't rush over. I stayed where I was, near the bar, surrounded by laughter that felt earned, not owed. Eventually, they found May, saw the hesitation in their steps, the way my mom kept smoothing her hair, the way my dad looked at the floor, then at me, then back again. They stopped a few feet away. Camille, my mother said, voice quiet but clear.
Hi, I nodded. Hi.
A long pause stretched between us, the kind that could swallow years if you let it. My father stepped forward first. We didn't realize, he said slowly, as if tasting the words before committing to them, what we were doing back then. With Tiffany, with everything. He looked at me, and for once not through me. We were just trying to keep peace, to go with what felt easier, but it wasn't right. His voice cracked near the end. My mother blinked quickly beside him. I let the silence settle for a second, let it breathe. Then I spoke softly. That was the problem. He nodded, almost like he'd been waiting to hear it, not to argue, just to absorb it. My mother tried next. We missed you. Her voice was brittle, not manipulative, just tired. You were always the one we leaned on. And I guess we leaned too hard for too long. I'm sorry. I didn't cry. I didn't offer forgiveness like a warm towel. I just said, I'm not angry. And I wasn't not anymore, but I needed space to stop being useful, to start being me. They looked smaller, somehow not pitiful, just human. Finally, we didn't hug, we didn't make plans, but my dad said, thank you. And my mom said, take care. And for the first time in years, I believed they meant it. They drifted back into the party, found a pair of seats near the corner, mostly quiet, and I turned back toward the group I came with, my people, the ones who knew me without needing anything from me. Laura raised her glass from across the patio. I raised mine back, and just as the clock struck 9, fireworks lit the sky, real ones, not metaphor apparently. Laura had pulled strings to mark the occasion. Color exploded above the building's gold, violet, blush, electric blue. The rooftop filled with cheers and phones in the air, and I just stood there, watching, laughing. The wind tugged at my hair. Someone handed me a jacket hand as I pulled it around my shoulders. I felt it click, that quiet understanding that I didn't need to belong where I wasn't seen. I had created something better, not louder, just truer. As the final burst of fireworks bloomed like a crown above the skyline, I smiled, not at anyone, just to myself, and I thought they gave her my spot, but I stopped needing theirs. The moment I claimed my own, If this story moved you, even just a little, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt replaced or erased by the people you loved most? Tell us your story below. Someone out there might need to hear it, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is building a life where you don't need one.